Hi, I'm Josh, and today I'm going to be reviewing this. This is Donald. He's our trusted robot lawnmower. We've had him for about a year and a half now. For the most part, we've not interfered, but that's not to say there haven't been issues. Just so you can get a better idea of how much work he's put in, here are some statistics. He has a cutting time of 2,341 hours, which is quite a lot of hours, I think. He's done 3,708 kilometres. That's 2,304 miles of travelling, distance-wise, just going around on the lawn. I don't think you can really tell that's the amount of work he's put in. I mean, he's got some scuff marks. He's got his damage, but overall, he really is doing well. He's doing well for what he's done. Anyway, let's talk about how it's been using a robot lawnmower. The positives. Let's talk about the positives for this robot. Well, the biggest positive is the fact that we've not had to mow the lawn at all. I mean, I say at all. Apart from the edges, like up on here, those have to be done with a strimmer or another form of lawnmower, because this guy, as you can see, his blades don't go all the way to the front. So when he hits a wall or an object, he doesn't cut that area. Up to about 20 centimetres away from whatever he bumps, he won't cut, which is fine. We're more than happy going around with a strimmer afterwards. Much better than doing the whole garden at a time. Now the UK is in a bit of a heat wave, so the grass is a bit dead in places. That's not because of this thing. Usually it's a really lush green. We're not very good ourselves at lawn care. We've had it, the people have asked us whether our grass is artificial. Now that's pretty crazy, because it's not, it's real grass. But yeah, for people to come around and see how short it is, how consistent it is. Another positive is the fact that it's electric. Now there's a few positives within it being electric. One, it's super quiet. When this thing runs, I'm not sure on the exact decibel, give me a second. You'd have thought I would have researched that bit. So as I was saying about the noise level, it says that it's roughly about 60 decibels. I mean, I'm not a noise expert, but just from generally hearing it, it's very quiet, like very quiet. We have it running at night time, like midnight till 2 AM, and don't even notice it. All you see are these lights, which at the moment are flashing because it's unhappy that I've taken off its charging cycle. So yeah, sorry buddy. So the biggest thing with it being electric, not only the noise, but the cost, its running cost, it's really cheap, like really cheap. I did a quick maths equation. It's only rough. I calculated within the year and a half of us owning this thing, it's cost us £13.20 in electricity. That's a year and a half of running. So I looked at how many hours this thing's been charging for. It's all on the app. The app logs literally everything that you need to know about this thing. It's pretty cool. So it's got 827 charging hours. It charges at 80 watts apparently. So timesing them together, the amount of hours it's charged at 0.08 kilowatts gives me 66.16 kilowatts of electricity being used. Times that by the amount it's cost, which I put at 20p per kilowatt, gives me £13.20. Still, even though it's rough, it's on the right lines. I think it's really cheap to run. That's my whole point. It's really cheap to run. Now, of course, with positives, there's always negatives. So, onto the negatives with this guy. I think the main downside of it was the setup. Yeah, it just took forever. We took about 6 or so hours digging, because we buried our boundary wire underground, which you don't have to do. And you can also just pay for a professional installer and they'll do it underground themselves with like a push machine, much quicker and easier. But anyway, yeah, so 6 hours of going around, digging a trench and then putting a cable in. But yeah, so setup is a real pain. But as I said, one-time thing, do it right and you won't be having to touch it ever again, which is great. We haven't actually touched it since the setup, so a year and a half ago, and still going absolutely fine. Okay, so another negative that we had is with the wheels. So these wheels I've got here aren't the original wheels. Hold up, give me a second. So, these are the original wheels. Looking at it, you won't really notice apart from the red hint here. There's blacky grey on there. But the main thing we had with these wheels is if you look at the grooves on here, they're just very small, and the spaces in between are very small as well, which means in turn that in the wet, because it rains here quite a lot in England usually, hasn't so far apparently, the wet grass clumps together quite a lot and makes the wheel kind of smooth, which isn't great. Well, it can be fine if you've got a flat garden where it just bumps into walls and just kind of there's nothing it can go down. It's absolutely fine, you won't even notice it. You might want to clear it anyway, but it should be absolutely fine. But for us, we've got a bit of a bank, and so when these wheels get really smooth, it loses its traction. So when it goes down the bank a little bit, it slips, and when it slips all the way down the bank, which in turn means it's out of the boundary, and then it gets stuck there and we have to go rescue it, which happens quite a few times. So we bought not those are the original wheels. We bought these wheels, which are much more heavy duty wheels. They also come with brushes underneath here that are designed to brush off the grass as it builds up. They cost about £90. I'll put a link in the description so you can view it if you want. Called the Automower terrain kit. So with the cleaning of the wheels, I usually just use a brush, but I also made a little scraper tool. I don't have anything ready, do I? I'm a bit useless at this. Alright, I'm back. This guy. This I use to scrape the wheels, so if this was your wheel, you just scrape away at it, because all the grass builds up in between all these bits. It's basically like a flathead screwdriver, just bigger, but yeah, a bit of fun. Works pretty well. And if you want to make this, as in 3D print it, I'll leave a link down below for the CAD file on Thingiverse. Okay, let's look at some features of this model. I'm not sure if you can hear the helicopter. Sorry if you can, you can't. Awesome. So, firstly, the cut and height can be adjusted on your phone, which is quite cool. I mean, you rarely actually adjust the height of the cut, but if you do, you can do it anywhere in the world. As long as your phone has an internet connection, you can adjust your cut and height, which is quite cool. So underneath here, this little guy moves up and down using motor built into it. Also, this has built-in GPS. So what this GPS can do to help it is a few things. First up, you can track this. So if it were nabbed from your garden, or if it was just nabbed in general, you can track it using your phone. It has a built-in 4G, actually I think it's more 3G or 2G antenna, it might be 3G, of which it then uses to tell your phone where it is. And that SIM card in it, it lasts for 10 years since purchase date. I believe that's the same now as it was when we bought this only a year and a half ago, but that's what I found out about it. So I don't know what happens after that 10-year period. That's something to keep in mind. It uses that GPS as well to get a better cut for your garden. Now what I mean by that is it will go around and it will basically map out your garden in its little brain, and then from that it will learn which areas it needs to focus on. As it cuts, it knows roughly how dense the grass is, meaning does that area need more cutting, does that area not need any cutting, it will figure out where is growing quicker, and therefore it will then focus its attention on those specific areas, which is quite cool. This then also leads to it being able to determine if it even wants to mow. So that's what we have set up on it. So it will decide if it even needs to mow on that day, and you can set if you want it to mow, so you can kind of force it to mow a set amount, and then it will justify if it needs to or not. We have it on a high setting, meaning it will cut for the maximum time, so we try and force it to do a run every day at least, which it happily does for our garden. That's all it does. It'll run from 12 at midnight, till 2 a.m. That's how long its battery lasts, 2 hours. So that's just how long it runs. It just does one little run, then goes back to charging. Another feature are these LEDs. I mean, they're pretty pointless, if I'm being honest with you. Yeah, why does it need LEDs? Well, it looks cool, that's for one. It does look cool at night. When we've got it set on to come on in the evening and the night time, it doesn't really take a hit on the battery, which is quite good because they're just LEDs, they're very low wattage. So if you manage to spot it out at night, you'll see the little lights going on, which is quite cool. And then when there's an error, as there is right now, it'll flash. Okay, also, there is an alarm, which you get a little sticker. You don't have to put it on there. But yeah, it's alarmed, which is quite good. So, I mean, for us, it's never actually gone off because someone's been stealing it. It's gone off because we didn't put the code in time. And it's loud. But that's a pretty good deterrent. So there are also safety features. One of which is a lift sensor. So if it's running and it gets lifted up, the blades will stop, and it can even trigger an alarm if you want it to, which is quite good. And you'll get an alert on your phone saying the mower's been picked up. And yeah, it's very good on that part. Also, the whole thing is a bumper. So this top chassis up here is separate to the inner bit, which means that whenever it hits something here or on the back, it knows it's hit which side, and then it will turn around and go a different way. So if you have like chairs out or like benches, you don't have to worry about them. This guy will just bump into them. I mean, as you can see, bit of scuff marks, but it's a mower, it's a tool, it's doing its thing, it's all okay. So with those bumpers, we have a dog. She's absolutely fine with it, doesn't mind it at all. The only thing we do worry about is while she's lying down, if she's lying down on the grass and this is running, which isn't frequent at the moment because it's only cutting at night time, it's a bit sketchy because yes, they'll set off the bump sensor if it hits them, but of course they got their big fluffy tails out, which aren't very hard, they're very soft and are small enough to fit under this front gap. We haven't had it happen, but it's that worry it could just run over the tail and not notice it, and yeah, you get a nice little sliced up tail. As I said, we've never experienced it. I haven't seen anything about it happening to anyone. Hopefully the dog is smart enough to move out the way of a robot coming towards it. But yeah, that's just something to keep in mind. There's another helicopter going by. I hope it's not picking up. Okay, I'm gonna forget it. It's so loud. So to sum it all up, it really does make your life easier. When it comes to cutting the lawn, it looks great, it's effortless, it's easy. Once you've done that initial setup, boom, you're done, it's great. It's much cheaper to run. Sometimes some human intervention is needed, but overall it's great. But yeah, if you want to go for it, definitely do. It's definitely worth it. If you've got the money to go for it, do it. Anyway, I've been Josh. I hope you've enjoyed this review. Yeah, thanks for watching.